Hey everyone, I hope everyone is doing well and welcome to another video. So let's go ahead and get this commentary started. Day 3 of the week means I start the workout with front squats. I had a very weird start with them. I wanted to have my grip to be the same as when I do cleans, and when I've been doing cleans my grip's been a little bit wider since that allows me to push out my knees a little bit more. It hasn't affected my ability to clean any weight, it's just an adjustment that I've been making. Because of that, the grip that I have when I was doing front squats, I have my hands a little bit wider. My 5th rep on the first set slipped and fell, and it actually kind of aggravated my bicep because it slipped on my left side a lot more, and instead of trying to fight it and essentially keep all the weight on my bicep, I dropped it, took all the weight off, put it back on, and decided just to move my grip in a little bit. I had a total of 4 sets of 5 reps to do, and since I did 4 reps on the first set, I decided to do 6 on the last set. With my hands more narrow, I was able to have a better grip on the bar, my elbows higher, and just in a more powerful position to do front squats. So that'll probably be how I will do them in the future. Just makes them a little bit easier, and the goal of front squats for me is to build the quads and to maintain my torso position. And if my hands have to be a little bit more in to allow that to happen, then I think it's going to be better, and it's going to allow me to keep my biceps a bit safer and just my wrist in general, because when it pitches forward it goes all into my wrist and my biceps, and it does not feel great even when I don't have tendonitis of any sort. It just doesn't feel good. Anywho, so after front squatting I had snatch pulls. I did these from the ground like I did the clean pulls from earlier this week from the ground. I went up from what I did these from a deficit. I was working on what I was struggling at with my snatches on the previous day, and that was waiting to extend. I think I did a pretty good job on these pulls. They were tough, but they didn't go all above my belly button, so I'll be staying at this weight for the next week. I was happy with how I was extending, but it definitely is something I need to continue to work on to really hammer that point home when I'm doing full snatches. I was feeling my bicep at this point when I finished up the snatch pulls, and when I had failed my rep on the squats, I put a lot of pressure on my achy bicep like I mentioned before. So I was not expecting a ton with my jerks. I was focusing on making my form be as crisp as I could. I worked up to 265, which I failed because I jumped back a little bit. It didn't feel great on my biceps, but it was much more so because I jumped back and the weight was in front of me, the reason I failed that. Because it was a mechanical thing, I went up to 275, a smaller jump, and I tried to do that, and my form actually felt phenomenal on that rep, but just when I caught it, everything felt unstable, particularly with my left side. And when you see the clip of that rep, you notice that my left arm kind of comes off first because I just wanted to get out of that weight as quickly as possible. So it just felt unstable and weak, and it just made me let the weight go. I was happy I was able to get to that point. I wasn't thinking I would work up to anything significant with jerks at all, but that was still relatively high percentages, and it's pretty darn close to a training mate because I caught both of those pretty well. It's just didn't catch the 265 as well as I should have, and the 275 it just felt unstable. But it is what it is. It's kind of annoying how my arm is limiting me a bit right now in my pressing. And like I mentioned in a previous video, taking some ibuprofen to get the inflammation down. I'm assuming that's probably a little bit what's wrong with it, and obviously cut down the pressing when I get to the deload. I'm hoping to get through this last week and be fine with that before I go on to the deload, so I don't have to miss that. At the very worst, I'll just do all the squatting. I was able to do the overhead press after my jerk work. Didn't bother my bicep at all. Didn't feel it actually at all doing the pressing, and didn't aggravate it after or anything. So that's a big positive. And if it's something that my bicep keeps getting aggravated from doing other lifts, then OHP could be something I do a lot more. It's definitely going to be a beneficial thing to get my shoulders stronger in general. And I think deloading will be extremely good for me to get my body right before I move on to my next phase of training before my competition. Just a little brief update about that. I don't know. I have one friend that's going to be doing the competition with me, and I'm not sure if Justin's going to be. He's been dealing with some kind of knee, kind of like the tendonitis I have in my bicep. He has the same kind of thing in his knee. It just kind of keeps getting aggravated. So he might be moving on to a different phase of training right now to focus more on powerlifting and just building strength and trying to get his knee right. So hopefully, if he doesn't do that competition, he's able to go and to coach me through it. But I still plan on doing it. I thought for a minute, like, maybe I'll just, take some more blocks of training to get stronger. But I think for my personality, it's a lot easier for me just to put my head down and do the training it's more difficult for me to prepare to max out and do that sort of stuff. So it's important to kind of go against my personality to do that, since I do want to get better at doing competitions, obviously, and I want to improve. And I think even if I were to compete this weekend, I'd be able to get higher numbers than what I did in my previous competition. So I definitely think there's competitions PRs to be had there, and obviously I'd still be a 105. I just have gained a little bit of weight since that competition. Or actually, if they use the same scales, I'll probably be 10 pounds more than what I am now. Their scales at the place were completely way off. But I planned, like, the big goal of the deload is to get my biceps to feel good, and I know it sounds weird to say biceps because it's just my left one. It's singular. I don't know why it still has an S on it. I'm sure there's some scientific reason to why it's biceps, but I always find it annoying how it's like that. Whenever I spell it out, I think bicep, and that's what colloquially it's known as, but it's called the biceps. And yeah, it's kind of messes with my one part of my brain that does not appreciate that kind of stuff. So I believe I mentioned this before with my bicep, but I've had this kind of ache before in the past from doing too much bench press. So it's related to pressing, so it could be something on my tricep that's pulling on it, or it just, whatever connections are there, just gets a little worn out. It's never been anything that's really limited me. It just kind of gets achy, and then I take a rest, and then it gets better. So I have no reason to think that this isn't going to be the case. I mean, obviously, if I keep doing stuff, it's not going to get better. So it's important for me to be intelligent with what I'm doing and try to get it better. I really just have this week and next week, this week's max out, and then next week's max out, to where I'll be going super heavy. Or at least trying to. And if things don't feel good, then I just won't do it. I'll just do all the squatting and the pulls and everything else that I can do, and not fret about that. If the worst thing that I get with this essentially 10 weeks of strength training is a little bit of this bicep issue, then I think I had a very successful block of training. And honestly, it's not even that bad. It's not like something that hurts a while after training. It's just something that kind of gets achy while I'm training. And it's just from doing too much, and it makes sense because this whole 10 weeks it's just been doing a lot of volume. So if that's, like I said, if that's the worst thing that happens, then I think I will be doing all right. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up the commentary here. I will talk to you all in the next video, and I hope you all have a great day. Peace.